everyone. It's Dr. Lori, and this is Ask Dr. Lori. We're live. Good to see all of you. We're going to answer your questions. Any questions you want to ask, I'm answering them. So whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whatever it might be, and if you want to know, is it valuable? I'll tell you that too. So get ready with your questions. I need questions that will help everybody. Specific little questions that only relate to one object that you might have, and it doesn't relate to anything else too specific. Not the type of questions we want. We want questions that will help everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter. It's for all of the new people who are coming. So those of you who have subscribed, great. Newsletter is easy to subscribe to. It's free. It's at drloriv.com. Just give us your email address. It's easy to do. This newsletter is available and a new one's coming out soon. So you want to sign up now. So your questions, of course, I'm taking those and I'll answer any of those questions. I had a great question about from my class recently. Of course, the classes are available. You know all about my classes. Lots of people, of course, taking my classes. And I had some good questions from the class too. Will Elvis items sell well in 2027 for the anniversary of his death? Yeah, Phoebe, usually, and Elvis Presley is born January the 8th. And typically, we will see a little spike in any Elvis memorabilia around the time of his birth, but also the time of his death. He dies in August. So there will be, of course, a revival, a spike, because it's going to be, I guess it's going to be 50 years from his 1977, August 1977 death. So yeah, there'll be a spike then. But typically a birth date shows you a spike and an anniversary. But in this case, the anniversary of the death, because it's a big anniversary, you'll see Elvis Presley pieces. So you want to amass them now or get them together now and then sell them about 2 weeks prior to, start to list them about 2 weeks prior to that death date, that death anniversary date. So yeah, very good question. Smart. That question helps everybody. Do you see what I mean? Is a wall clock that has a tuning fork movement valuable? It can be valuable, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily more valuable than one that doesn't have a tuning fork movement. So yeah, it could be that. That's a good question too. Remember, clocks don't necessarily have to be in working order to be valuable, as long as there is a mechanism for you to get them in working order, right? A lot of people go, well, it's broken, so we can't, there's no value to it. That's not true. Remember, horologists, people who are clock makers or clock repair people, can actually fix a lot of clocks that you might think, don't have any hope. Those clocks actually can, in fact, be repaired. So look into that before you make a thing. Is all white glass considered milk glass? No, not all white glass is considered milk glass. And remember, a lot of pieces that aren't glass at all could look like glass. Things like alabaster, some types of marbles, slag glass is trying to look like marble. Don't get confused, but milk glass and white glass, not interchangeable. A lot of people think they're interchangeable, but in fact, no, it's not interchangeable. Interesting though, a lot of people collect milk glass. A lot of people collect white glass. There are different types. Yeah, good question too. Again, helps everybody. Those are the types of questions we like. Hi, Maria. I bought a Capodimonte Italy water well at the thrift store, okay, for $3. Good deal. How valuable are they? It will depend on how big yours is. It will depend on which mark you have for Capodimonte, because there's lots of different marks, which indicate a lot about age and quality and who made it and all of this stuff. For $3, you're probably in good stead, but I would like to see a photo of it. You can submit a photo at drloriv.com. Any of you can submit a photo for my review of any object you like at drloriv.com. If you want a written report, there is a fee, but I will review the objects. If it's not worth it, I'll tell you that. There's no charge for me to tell you that. So yeah, and I'm the one who looks at them when I review any of those pieces that are submitted there, any of those photos. So that's great. So that's terrific. Yes, Steph, happy to look at anything, your fake Rolexes too. And thank you very much for your super chats and super stickers. Your support is very important. So thank you very much for doing that. As your generous support, I recognize and I appreciate. So thank you. I have a Faberge egg-like piece that is not gold, but it has a mark inside. Is it valuable? Caesar, come on, work with me here. I've got this. It's kind of like this. It's not this. It kind of has a mark. You're not telling me about the mark. Do I know if it's valuable? I need a picture and a little bit more information. I have appraised. I've lectured on Faberge in St. Petersburg, actually. I was at the Faberge Museum in Russia. absolutely amazing experience. But in fact, when it comes to Faberge pieces, and I have appraised even a Faberge egg, but egg-like pieces, there are a lot of reproductions of the Faberge eggs. They even have reproductions. They made them out of jewelry, but there's lots of them out there. So I'd have to see it. I'd have to see what mark you're talking about. I'd also have to see, what is it, gold plated? Is it something else? So a picture will help, and it may be valuable. But with just that little description that doesn't really tell you much, vague, you're going to have to send me a picture to do better than that. Vintage hat boxes can be collectible. A lot of people collect vintage accessory pieces for fashion, like hat boxes. So I've seen them go upwards. They can be high for what they are, because typically vintage hat boxes are typically only covered cardboard most of the time, or press board. Some of them that are that date back to the early 20th century or earlier can be valuable. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't throw them out just willy-nilly. Even some from the 1960s, 70s, 80s can have some value. So Lisa, thank you very much for your super sticker. Anytime you guys support the channel, you're supporting my staff, you're helping me to help you to make more videos so you can watch and learn. And of course, one of the ways that you can watch and learn is search the channel. There's a search feature right here at the YouTube channel, Dr. Lori V. Right there, search the channel. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also search my website, which is drloriv.com. Also easy to do. So using the search feature will really help you. And many of you just tell me, I hear it all the time, I'm binge watching, I'm using the binge link. It's so helpful, it's so easy, and I'm glad for that. So, and thanks for your questions. Here comes some more. Please make a full video exclusively on reselling. I teach classes on reselling. I talk a lot about reselling in each video that I do. I mean, one video exclusively on reselling would be very, very long. Not saying I won't do it, but again, I give tips on all different types of tips on reselling, and I do a 2-part class on reselling as well. So I suggest you look at the events on drloriv.com and consider signing up for that class, those classes. They're very popular. Thank you very much, Trina, always supporting the channel, and I appreciate that. Like Steph and Lori and many of you are saying, I'm supporting this channel because this channel really helps me. And I appreciate it when you send me an email and go, hey, Dr. Lori, you appraised this and I was able to sell it, or I learned this from you and I'm telling my friends. I really need you all to spread the word. But great. Let's hear some questions. What do you want to know? How do you tell a fake from a real Satsuma pottery mark? Is there any specific telltale signs? Yeah, learn about the quality of the object. Look at the ceramic and be able to identify whether or not the ceramic is valuable. You're too focused on these marks. Marks are easy to fake. Making the ceramic look good isn't. So you want to remember that. I always look for, and I've told you about this in other videos, but what I always look for, of course, is the intricacy of the actual figures, which are usually on Satsuma pieces, and how many figures are there, landscapes with figures. Those are some of the telltale signs. Satsuma, there's a lot of it out there, and there's a lot of junk Satsuma out there too. And I know that we have done in our Ask Dr. Lori Lives, if you put in Satsuma or if you put in Asian ceramics in the search, you'll be able to find a lot of times when I'm talking about that. But you want to be able to look at the piece and go, okay, there's something right about this, or there's something wrong about this, right? A lot of the time it's about the intricacy of the design itself. Size will be important. And of course, how the glaze is applied to texture on a piece of Satsuma is also important. For those of you who don't know what Satsuma is, it's a very well-known large-scale ceramics from Asia. Very, very typical. A lot of people have seen it. And it was very popular in the early 1900s. So a lot of it dates between 1900 and 1950 or so. So good question. Good question. A lot of people have that. That helps everybody. Matthews, thank you very much. It's nice to see you. I don't mean to slay. I do like the little emoji of me with the little tiara. I like that. Thank you, Matthew. It's nice to see you, and thank you for your support. But I'm not here to slay. I'm trying to help. And I know that if you follow me, because you've all told me, gosh, I'm following you and I'm learning things and I'm building this collection and I'm understanding quality and I'm having fun, and I'm making money too if I'm reselling. So that's good. That's what I want you guys to be doing. I want you to succeed. So thank you very much, and thank you for your support. Kelly, I have a Wallace Nutting painted photograph. Okay, let's talk about that. signed in pencil, entitled license check. The back has a zip code for Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Can't seem to find anything on this piece. Okay, couple things. Wallace Nutting actually was a photographer active in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and the surrounding areas, Lehigh Valley, northeastern Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, for example, and also published books on his photographs. Some of his most famous photographs are interior scenes. So, like if you're looking for Wallace Nutting, you would search Wallace Nutting and you get this information that I'm giving you now on the channel. Interior scenes of colonial hearths and such, that kind of thing. Also, of course, landscapes, great landscape pictures. And then he had a little cottage industry of mainly women who were actually hand coloring these particular pieces. So they're colored sort of like watercolors, but they were not technically painted. They're not like oil on canvas type of thing. They were photographs that were then colored. And those people, mainly women, who colored those photographs for Wallace Nutting, then Wallace Nutting would sign them. And sometimes they were proxy signed. What does that mean? Sometimes the titles would be written in by those women who actually painted over those pieces. So there's that. They did have a lot of higher value maybe 5 to 10 years ago, and that market has changed significantly since then, but they could have value. So if you're asking, is it valuable? Yes, not as valuable as they were, but yes, Wallace Nutting photographs, hand painted, are valuable. Hand colored are valuable. I have a large crock. Finishes on the inside, but not on the outside. Is it worth anything or is it trash? I have to know how the size of it. I have to know, is it earthenware ceramic or is it stoneware ceramic? I have to know what color glaze it is. I have to know if it has any marking. I have to know if it's from Dauphin County or other parts of the world. I have to know, again, whether or not it has a lid, whether or not it's a jug and it has a finger hole and a spout. I need more information than I have a crock and it's glazed on the inside, which is what I think you mean by finished, and not on the outside, or vice versa. So more information necessary. But yes, jugs, crocks, and other types of storage vessels can be valuable. I hope that helps. So do you see how this is a little bit more difficult? I mean, not difficult, more complex, not difficult for me, but it's more complex than what we might think. I want you to understand all the things you need to be looking for, because I know people go, gosh, you know, she knows all this stuff. You know, I know sometimes people will say, oh, she makes it look easy. Oh, it's easy. I want you to be able to know what to look for. That's why I say look for quality. But you have to understand and ask those questions so I can point you in the right direction, right? Because a lot of people will have those and say, oh, I just think it's junk. A lot of you also think because it's your object, it's not worth anything. Don't think that. You might have that diamond in the rough and you're overlooking it. I've seen that for more than 25 years doing this. You know, I mean, that's basically what we're looking towards. So I want you to think about that too. Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much for the super chat and super stickers. And if you're new to the channel, I want to know, hey, I'm new to the channel, Dr. Lori. I just found you. Some people, of course, are coming to this now. Are the makers of costume jewelry, Monet and Renoir, related to the artist's descendants? No, they're not. I love you too, Melissa. Thank you for that question. No, they're using those particular impressionist artist names because they're recognizable. But in fact, no, not descendants. I will also say that, remember, with respect to costume jewelry pieces, I've given a lot of information and a lot of tips on how to, in fact, find the most valuable costume jewelry pieces when you're out there treasure hunting. It's great. The thrill of the hunt is fun. But which particular designers are going to be popular and more valuable? Which ones to look for? How do you identify them if they're not marked? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of information there. And I know a lot of you are finding great success building your collections of jewelry and also reselling it. So that's great. That's great. We're watching Love Braxton and Georgia, Junior Treasure Hunters Extraordinaire. They are Junior Treasure Hunters Extraordinaire. Hello to Braxton and to Georgia. And I hope that they continue the hunt. I had a fun video call with them and their grandma, who's a superstar too. And I hope that their cousins are well. So that's great. That's great. Nice to see all of you. So many of you, of course, are spending time treasure hunting with family, and I love to hear that. It really makes me happy. Are pillow covers sent home from servicemen to mothers valuable? Marilyn, that's a good question. You know, a lot of people have them. They're silk typically, or a silk type material, and they'll say mother on them. There were handkerchiefs that GIs could purchase, especially during World War II. Pillow covers, or shams as they were called, Sometimes they'd have some lace. Sometimes they'd be painted with a little bit of decoration on them, roses, this kind of thing. They can be valuable because they fall into military collectibles. They relate to particular wars. Sometimes they say souvenir of France or souvenir of Germany or Italy, but typically France. And they're relatively desirable. People do look for them, and a lot of people have them. So before they get tossed, you want to think about, letting me put my eyes on them first. But yes, they can have some value. Keely, nice to see you, Keely. Hi to you. Keely, of course, is another one of you great treasure hunters. And I love the community that we've built. We're very fortunate in that. I see it a lot with the classes. The classes are so fun. Everyone's like, I'm having so much fun at the class. It's not like a class. So you learn a lot, but it's fun. It's not taxing. What's the difference between a necklace dark Japan versus Japan? Thank you. Cindy, there are a couple of different things with respect to Japan. It's a large and complex discussion about the all capital letters versus the upper and lowercase capital letters. Sometimes it has to do with a location of where it's made. Sometimes it has to do with the date of where it's made. It will depend on what kind of jewelry piece you have and what the material of that jewelry piece is. So I think it probably warrants a blog post, right? Maybe it doesn't warrant a book like one of these, but it probably warrants a blog post for me. So I'll do that for you guys so you can have it as a reference. But basically, in terms of value, it's going to matter on what type of material you're dealing with, how old your piece is, the condition, the quality, and of course, the length. Something special, Connecticut. If that's CT for Connecticut, let me tell you, Connecticut's special. It's my home state, and I do love Connecticut. I certainly miss it all year long. Yes. So I'm very happy to hear that. You're welcome. I'm so glad to hear this kind of stuff because, this helps all of you. This helps all of you when you tell your colleagues, your associates here, other people in the community of the channel to go, hey, this is what helped me. I tried this. Dr. Lori told me this and I did that and it worked great and this kind of thing. That helps people, and I like to hear that. I have Jenga birds and feathers worth much. Can be. So you have to be aware of that. I'd like to see a picture and I'd like to know how big. Those two things will help me. Excuse me. Excuse me. It's a little dry. All right. So yeah. So size is going to matter for that, as well as, of course, photographs of which type. But for the most part, I want you to have a sense if you're collecting in a category. I did a video call today, and there was a wonderful collection, speaking of birds, of Murano glass birds, and they were all different sizes. They were done by different designers, but in fact, having that collection together increased the value a little bit of all of the pieces. So remember, if you're collecting in that way. Thank you, David. Yeah, I love you guys too. Thanks for being in the class. It was nice to meet you guys. And I appreciate the love here with a video, with a super sticker. So thank you for that. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's great. Pamela, thank you very much for the super chats and super stickers. And all of you can support the channel in any way you can, in any amount that you can, that helps. So thank you very much for that. And I want you also to share the channel. Tell your friends and family about it. I had someone on a video call today, a lovely woman, and she said to me, Dr. Lori, you talked to my cousin, and I got my cousin watching you, and she's doing well, and I'm doing well, and we're having fun at this. I've had sisters and grandmothers and grandkids and mothers and daughters and husbands and wives and partners and everybody. So I love to hear that. I love to hear that because it's fun to have a partner in crime, or a partner in thrifting, if you will. But a lot of fun. Let's see those questions. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about me? What do you want to know about your collecting? What do you want to know about art, antiques, and collectibles? Are lithographs made with tiny dots worthless? Okay, there's a couple of different things. First of all, typically if you see dots on prints, and I talk about this on my research pages of my website at drloriv.com. It says research. It's a tab. Click on it. It'll say prints. Click on prints. All the different things that you're going to find on a print and how to identify a print like a lithograph. Right there, it says research. You see the big I, the information I, and it says research. Click on that. All these categories are going to pop up, and it's going to say jewelry, and it's going to say artwork, and it's going to say prints, and it's going to say, name it, glass, this, that, home decor, garden objects, whatever it might be. click on it and see all of these different things. Or don't even worry about that. Go to the search and put in prints and all of those. That search feature works very well, let me tell you. Go to the top where it says contact Dr. Lori. It says search with the magnifying glass and put in prints or put in lithographs. All of the things I talk about with this will be there to answer your question, because I don't want to ignore your question. To answer your question, the dots usually are not in lithography. Usually you'll see the dots if you have a commercial print. Now, there are commercial or mechanical lithographs, but when you're talking about a true lithograph, that's usually done with a greased and inked stone, so you don't usually see the mechanical dots. The dots are usually done by a machine, right? A mechanical print, and that's what I want you to look for, because those dots are a telltale sign. And I explain this not only in the videos, if you use the search here on the channel, but also, of course, on the website. And I explained it a lot. So I want you to really see it, because on some of the videos, I actually show you the example where you can see different, my staff does a great job with getting these images for you so you can see all of that. So I urge you to look at the videos. Lori, thank you very much for your super chat and super sticker. I wish you happy holidays. And of course, it's good to see you. So these folks who always support, who watch on social media, who follow, folks who are watching, of course, my television appearances, as well as this channel, where you can see me on networks, and you can see me on cable and other places too. So it's all great. It's all great. Thank you very much. She reminded me of that. So let's see those questions. We'll keep them coming. Remember also that, here we're trying to help you to learn more about this and learn it from an expert in the field, not learn it from someone who does not have the expertise, does not have the museum experience, the PhD in art history and all the rest of it, but mainly has, of course, the appraisal experience. I've seen so many objects, all different types, and that's unusual. So Mexican pottery. Hi, Undine. All these YouTubers talk about Talavera or Tanalana pottery. Is there a place or a style? They try to be so knowledgeable. Okay. Again, folks have knowledge. Other folks have knowledge. I'm not the only person with knowledge. But I do have a different mission from a lot of people, because I am not trying to sell you something, and I'm not trying to get something from you for a low value and buy it from you so I can resell it for my own gain. So understand what some of these folks are doing in terms of a mission, all right? There are different types of pottery. Talavera and Tanalala are basically, they're basically Mexican pottery pieces. You probably could find better or more valuable pieces, Native American pieces. But what tends to happen in these, in a lot of these groups and with some folks who are collecting, is they sort of stay within one particular area and can't really branch out over it. You hear a lot about, like in glass, you hear a lot about Blanco and you hear a lot about Murano, and that's about what you hear about. Anything else is sort of like, over the top for folks. When it comes to pottery, people will forget about basically understanding the types of pottery and only focus on those pieces that are actually marked or those pieces that are more well-known, right? So it's not only about that. I want you to learn to be able to recognize the good pottery from the not so good pottery, or the good glass from the not so good glass, right? So I want you to have an understanding of that, and that will help. I have a cake fruit pedestal stand in a pretty light blue. I'm guessing that's a color, hand painted, and white floral drawings. It's signed. I like it, but couldn't find any info. Okay, I'm getting a little confused. It's light blue. It's ceramic. I have a cake fruit pedestal stand. So you have a standing fruit plate in a pretty light blue, hand painted on ceramic, okay, with floral drawings, and it's signed Italy. Can't find any info. What are you doing wrong? So that's really the first question. You're trying to do research. Thank you for the super chat. You're trying to do research, and the first thing you have to do is you have to be able to identify the actual material. So are you dealing with porcelain? Are you dealing with earthenware? You say it's hand painted and you say it's Italian. So you're probably looking at earthenware. You're not looking at bone china. You're probably not looking at porcelain. Huh? Why? Well, and this is, again, I don't have an image to go by. So all of you are going, show me an image, show me an image. I can't show you an image because it's live. I don't have the image. This person just came up with this question. So you're going, oh, I understand. I can't see, because, my staff will then get 20, emails after this video, and they'll go, you didn't show me the image. Why don't you show me the image? I can't because I don't have it because it's live and I didn't know that this question was coming. But let me say this. If it says Italy on it, and if it is in fact signed, it is probably a 20th century piece. Why is that? Well, first of all, those standing cake plates become more popular after World War II. So you're probably looking at that time period. But again, I need to see it. If it's signed by the artist, that usually might mean it's a blank and it comes into the United States as a blank and then someone here actually paints it. But if it's signed with an Italian name and it also says Italy, it might be done in a studio in Italy and then imported into the United States. I hope that helps. Why are some thrift stores overpriced? Why are any stores overpriced, right? I mean, you're saying, oh, some thrift stores have items that are overpriced. Yeah, well, there's a lot of pieces that are overpriced. Why is the whole internet full of stuff that's overpriced? Because, some people don't know the market. Some people just say, I don't really care. I'm going to just put a big number on it. I don't care if I sell it or I don't sell it, that kind of thing. So, I mean, are some thrift stores pricing their pieces higher than others? I think it just depends on the item. It depends on the day. It depends on who decided to have the magic marker and write, $20 versus $2. There are many factors to that question. So many factors will, in fact, that it's no different really than listings on Etsy or eBay or Ruby Lane or Poshmark or anything else. People just put numbers up. A lot of them don't bother looking at the market, or they don't know how to analyze the market. I see that all day, every day. That's my job. And then, there are a lot of people who also say, oh, I saw that somebody was pricing that. I had it just today in a video call. I saw that somebody was pricing something at $500. So I thought mine was worth $500. And then I don't really know what it's worth, but I figured I'd put $500 on it. Well, you're now the blind leading someone else who's blind. You don't know, and they may not know, and you're following them and they may not know. So you're in as much of a mess as those people. So just be careful. If you don't know who your source is, then you probably have to have me appraise it. Yep. And, hit the thumbs up, people. Yeah, well, it would be nice to get some more likes. It would be nice for you guys to say, hey, Dr. Lori has really helped me out, and to remember that I've helped you out. But I think a lot of you recognize and appreciate what we do. I think you understand how hard we work. Some of you even tell me, you look horrible, Dr. Lori. You look exhausted, and we think you work hard. So that's okay, too. Do all Hermes silk scarves always have rolled edges? Hermes silk scarves. I had a fantastic Hermes silk scarf. It was a great Real Bargain. If you haven't watched my Real Bargain videos, watch the Real Bargain videos. If you want to know about Hermes scarves, I give you what to look for in a list on those videos. On those videos and on many of my videos, I will tell you, here's what you look for. So many of them, of course, are marked clearly. Many of them do have rolled edges. It depends on the time period. It also depends on whether it relates to the design. They want to make sure that the design looks good. But that's a very good question. So thanks for that. Thank you, Erin. Thank you very much. Erin just wants to support me. Doesn't want to ask any questions. She just wants to support me. It's very nice. I appreciate that too. So thank you for that as well. My pendant I thought was costume registered as a sapphire. Would sapphire be surrounded by crystals? That could be, but not typically, but it could be. Sometimes they will use crystals or white topaz instead of diamonds. It depends on what type of sapphire. You could have a very, very high quality sapphire, and you can have a lower quality sapphire. So don't think it has to be diamonds if there's a sapphire, or if there's a precious gemstone with it. It could be crystals. It depends on the time period. Certain time periods, they prefer to use other types of gemstones or crystals rather than diamonds. Many different factors. I would like to know, one of the other telltale signs I'd like to know, is it a precious metal that it's set in? Is it a metal like sterling silver or 14 karat gold or platinum, or what's the metal? And are you sure you're correct about the crystals? I have a dog and doll list panel looking at digger bitter bottles. Okay, any information and value would be appreciated. I need to see them. So first of all, canal digger bitter bottles in general, and I talk about bottles as specifically bitter bottles on my website. But bitter bottles can have serious value, well into the thousands easily. So if that's something that you are collecting, then you really need to get a little bit more information. If you want to send me a picture, I'll be happy to take a look. and see whether or not it warrants an appraisal. But yeah, typically those do warrant an appraisal. And how you acquire them will be important. They will be important. So I'm glad you love the Real Bargains videos. I love the Real Bargains videos and all the videos because they talk about you guys and how your success stories. The Real Bargains videos really are wonderful. It's amazing the pieces that you'll find. I mean, I had a woman today on a video call, $17. She bought a fantastic chair worth a heck of a lot more. So, and I'll talk about that in an upcoming Real Bargains video. But yeah, you should, if you want to go to the channel, just look at Real Bargains. People love it. They watch it. And the thing about it is, as I'm talking about those great success stories, I'm teaching you what to look for. It's the treasure map for the thrift store shopper. You know, here's what you look for. A lot of you are smart enough to look at my videos and go, Dr. Lori's talking about that. I'm going to make a note of it. I'm going to save it to my phone, and I'm going to utilize that and look for this stuff, this specific thing, when I'm in the thrift store, when I'm in the antique mall, when I'm at the yard sale, when I'm at the flea market. A lot of people have done a lot of very, very well in doing just that. So happy to take your questions. I'm happy to take all of your questions. I'll answer any of them. I had a question the other night at the class from a woman whose name starts with an A. I don't want to give away all of this information because I don't know if she wants me to tell her name. And she said, if your house is burning, you have the opportunity to get one piece out of your house. What would it be? And I had to really sit and think. I was like, wow, that's a hard question. Because I always say at the class, ask me whatever you want to ask me. And I said, gee, I have to really think. So I did think, and actually I showed it on social media and also here on the story, what I would take. And it was my teddy bear. It was my teddy bear. It was really hard to decide. But I think these things from childhood and the things that create memories are really hard. And I'll tell you a very short story because I know you don't want to all hear about me, but I was caught, and it was caught. I was about 5. I was caught crossing the street. I was not allowed to cross the street in front of my home or near my home when I was growing up in Connecticut. And I was not allowed to cross the street. And I crossed the street to help another little girl who was also not allowed to cross the street. And I got into a lot of trouble when it came out that I had crossed the street and disobeyed my parents. And my dad really scolded me. I was in big trouble. And the next day he felt so bad that Teddy appeared. It was a yellow box on my bed and Teddy was inside of it. And I never forgot it. And I always remembered that I better behave. And I was in trouble and I wasn't in trouble. I think my poor dad, it hurt him more to actually have to scold me about crossing the street. So if you're not supposed to cross the street, you shouldn't. But I ended up getting a teddy bear out of it. So that was Teddy. And that's the story of Teddy. But I do still have that particular little childhood memory around. And I think there are a lot of things that remind us. They remind us of parents, if they remind us of folks that we love who may not be here with us anymore, or just an event or an opportunity or something that happened in your life. I have been to the Vatican many times. It is a fantastic experience. I may have told you in another video about when the nuns yelled at me because they were talking in Italian all fast and they thought I could talk in Italian and I couldn't understand them. But I have been to that was the Vatican gift shop. But I've been to the Vatican museums and I have lectured there many times. I brought students to the Sistine Chapel and have lectured there. I've had the good fortune to be in many of the world's museums. If you have an opportunity to go to Vatican City, go and go back. If you have the opportunity, go. I recently thrifted some William and Shelley earrings. Where should I try to sell these? They're brutalist and kind of gaudy. Brutalist is a term for the 1960s, 70s, 80s, not even 80s, but 60s and 70s era. Usually very, very industrial looking, brutalist, large, usually metals, gaudy and such. But these earrings can be pretty valuable depending on the material that is being used for them. I would say that, first of all, my selling old stuff for profit classes would help you because I go through each of the platforms and where the best places to sell certain types of objects, categories of art, antiques, and collectibles are. A lot of people like those 2 classes, which we are offering on my events pages for that. But I would say for those, I would probably look at, depending on the materials, I'd look at Poshmark probably first and a couple of others. I like a lot of the different platforms, but it depends on how you're going to market them. Then you have to see about, I talk about selling strategies too, which is going to be important. What's the best way to tell if Murano glass and pearl necklace is real? Well, It's always good if you have, thank you, Aaron. It's always good if you have, of course, a mark, a label, a provenance background, something like that. Other ways has to do with the intricacy of the glass, the way in which the glass is actually blown. You can tell the difference between a high quality piece of Murano and another piece of glass that looks like Murano that's not Murano. There really is a big difference and distinction between the two. Color has part to do with it. The way in which the rods are made has part to do with it. It will depend on what type you have. Also, length of the individual beads. If you're dealing with round beads, Murano is pretty characteristic. And when you start to learn and see Murano, I always say educate your eyeballs, look at as much as you can. This is why those of you who are succeeding are watching my videos over and over, because they're able to see the images over and over and have me narrate for you what to be looking for. So a lot of people like that. Hi, Shane. My doctoral thesis was on themes of nature in the 1950s. So you're like, what does that mean? The abstract expressionist artists, who were the painters like Pollock, the sculptors like David Smith and others, related to themes of nature and why nature was so important in that time period, and why these themes were important to a time of renewal after World War II. It was a time really when we experienced a renewal, a revival, a regeneration in American culture. So that's what my thesis was on. You can look up and read my books and you can see my thesis, but my doctoral dissertation, which they call a doctoral thesis, and it's funny because it's different from my master's thesis. My master's thesis was on images of Venus in the Renaissance, but my PhD dissertation was actually on themes of nature in American art of the 1950s or the abstract expressionists. Good question. Not a question I get a lot about my publications and my academic work, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. And actually, a couple of my books are here on the table. This one is the dissertation, the books, exhibition catalogs, and my books are on the table as well. They're not usually on the table. There are many other books, but these two happen to end up on the table when the studio folks are putting stuff out on the table. And there's a lot of cool stuff about sort of my other work on the table. This is a maquette from the Irish Memorial Monument, which is a national monument outside of in Philadelphia at Penn's Landing, and I was the project art historian on that particular national monument. You see those big monuments in places, done by Glenna Goodacre, a huge public sculpture I was happy to be part of as the project's art historian. So anyway, I just realized I could send messages and super stickers at the same time. Not going to repeat myself. Just want to say, Lisa, thank you. I appreciate that. That's okay. However you do it, it's always helpful. It's always helpful that you say, hey, you know what? I just want to say thanks, or I have this question, or I appreciate your work, whatever. What year did they start making jewelry? Was jewelry marked in the 1800s? Oh, did they start marking jewelry? Excuse me. I think my eyes are a little tired. What year did they start? Was jewelry marked in the 1800s? It will depend. We see more markings in the early 20th century, the markings that you're thinking of, where you've got these stamped markings. But typically in the Edwardian period, you'll have more of a designer mark. Remember, patent dates don't happen for designer patents until the mid 1950s. But you could see a late 19th century piece that has a particular mark, like a hallmark. So those marks were not the same type of marks as you would see later in the 1900s or the 20th century. That's a good question. That's a helpful question too. Yeah, that's a helpful question. Thank you very much for the super chat and the super stickers. We have a lot of fun here, and I think a lot of you, of course, are finding success by enjoying all of this. You're sourcing pieces, maybe you're reselling, maybe you're just collecting for yourself, maybe you're just learning. A lot of you say, you know what, Dr. Lori, I'm just learning. I'm looking at these pieces. I don't always buy anything. Sometimes I just look at the stuff in a store and I say, okay, I'm recognizing this, continually training your eyeballs. And you can do that everywhere, whether it's in a store, a museum where you're not tempted to buy. That's helpful too. Brandon, very excited to book a video call with you. Great. I'd be happy to talk with you. What are the names to look for when looking at Tiffany style lamps, popular makers of similar styles? Well, I like you to look at the quality of the Tiffany style lamp. One of the more famous reproduction of Tiffany style lamps is, of course, the Dale Tiffany pieces. You'll see a lot of those out there. But basically, if you're looking at Tiffany style lamps, I want you to look for good, and even if they're contemporary stained glass artists, I want you to look for good stained glass artists. So what to look for? Look for leading that is thin and consistent. So that's, you know, if my hand is the piece of stained glass, the leading that goes around it, right? You want to make sure that it's thin and consistent. You want to make sure that you see tonalities of color. So you don't really want to see a pink right up against a dark blue or a black right up against a yellow. You want to see that the color tonalities basically are easy on the eye. So it's not sort of like this rainbow right next to each other. You'll notice that a lot of the actual high quality Tiffany Studios pieces don't have sharp contrasts in color of stained glass next to one another. I hope that helps. Don't forget the bases. Bases are very important when it comes to Tiffany lamps. And if you search this channel, I actually appraised in an Ask Dr. Lori Live a Tiffany lamp that was found at a yard sale for a few bucks that was worth a lot. So you might want to, of course, search the channel for that. Find that video, and you're going to see a lot of where I go through the list of what to look for as well. So good question, good question. I have a Dominion Caramel by Smith Glass Pedestal Bow, good, but have not found other items of that color. Is that not typical? No, you could have a piece that is of a different color, or you just are not finding them online. I hate to say this. I know you all think everything's online, and if you search long enough, you will find it. You may not. That might not happen. So you may not want to spend your time searching forever for that particular color. So yeah, to have an unusual color, that's one of the things that you want to take a look at. That's not uncommon. It just may be that it's not online. So that's one of the things you want to think about as well. Thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate that too. And take off this big watch because it might break that crystal ball. We don't want to break the crystal ball. So thank you very much for the super sticker as well. But remember, when you're looking at these pieces and you say something seems awry, it could be that you have a reproduction. It could be that you have the real thing. We just don't have it. There is not another example online. Something could be misidentified. Boy, does that happen all the time? That happens a lot where people are not getting it right. So that happens a lot. I correct a lot of mistaken items. I get a lot of people who will get mad at me and go, oh, you're wrong, when they're looking at a mistake and they don't recognize it as a mistake. It's not their fault. They think it's right. But again, you have to know your sources are. It really is important when you know your sources, right? So, and I'm a source and a resource for all of you. 1934 Puffy Shea Boudoir Pearpoint Lamp. Nice. Thank you for all you do. Kelly, that's going to be some cash. So that's going to be nice. There are a lot of them out there. They usually have a floral design. They have, again, the puffy glass. Make sure the base has the nice pear point. You want the symbol with, of course, the pear point symbol, which has a diamond. That's why I keep doing this. Has a diamond form with a P in the middle on the base. I hope it's a connection. Sometimes pear point will also be on the rim of the actual shade of the glass. And, you know, more prominent flowers with that nice reverse painting on the interior is going to be important too. So look for that. That's what to look for right there. Boom, 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 boom. What to look for. That's why people love this channel. That's why people share this channel, because they're going, she's just going to tell me the treasure map. She's going to take me down the road so I can find it. Is an item marked 800 silver instead of 925 sterling mean it is older? No, not necessarily at all. It means it's a different fineness mark. Okay. What does that mean? It's 800 parts per 1,000 parts per silver versus 925 parts per 1,000 parts pure silver. Sterling is a standard. It means it has to be 92.5 or 925 parts per 1,000 pure silver. That's a standard. If you can call it sterling. Anything under that is not sterling, right? And 800 parts is about 80% pure silver, right? So 800 is 80%. 925 is 92.5%. Sometimes in Scandinavia, you'll see even higher levels of sterling silver. Sometimes you'll see 999.999 silver. You know, some of the really high-end stuff, Tiffany stuff, can be in fact 999, almost completely pure silver. Oftentimes the sterling has a little bit of other materials in it, like copper. Well, thanks for your questions. Thanks for your super chats and super stickers. Thanks for your support and for sharing the channel. I'm Dr. Lori. Don't forget about the newsletter and the website. I'll see you next time.